As I dig deeper and further down into my soul, trying to come up with the most meaningful words to explain the emotions I feel as I felt for my oldest and eldest of Earths. It helps with defining the definition of putting your family first.
I'll just pause for a moment of silence in case these nouns or these verbs don't compensate enough worth. A love that is so unconditionally traditional, it's extended through generations of individuals that feel the same way as I do. Now, make no mistake, a mother's love is so irreplaceable.
And for a mama's boy can make anyone less seem very undateable. But see, a grandmother's love lies within that same DNA that's infallible and can make anyone unholy seem so unnatural that not only will you know your type, but you'll also be able to recognize the insensibly typical and simply irrational.
So don't sit there and ration with the rational and try to make sense out of things that are senseless. And boy, don't you argue with no fool, because from a distance, no one can tell the difference. Be thankful and count all your blessings and understand why saying less sometimes really means more.
Don't forget to open up her doors so when she gets older, she'll know what to look for. Maybe end up with a guy that'll be by her side for 64 years or even more, down to the very last drop. And the only thing that will be able to tear them apart
is if someone's heart actually stops. In other words, congestive heart failure. And if I have your attention, let me tell you a few other things I learned every time I visited Jewel's school, specifically when she would suddenly say, "Oh yeah," that meant, "Would you please get to the point?"
Or are you just clueless to your own ideas? Because see, the loudest in the crowd ain't really saying too much. And that interested but confused look before she said, while also asking show enough. This meant she was neither agreeing nor disagreeing with your point of view, your side, or positioning.
Never let the little of things upset or bother your existing. And even through fights or disagreements, never let anything come between you and your siblings. And this is only a few of so many itty-bitty things that made one person our whole. A soul that resonates through the young and the old.
So I refuse to let this story go untold. Like I'm still at 706 Summit Avenue looking at Gunsmoke or Hogan's Heroes, because it seemed like the days of our lives flashed right before my eyes as all of her children and their children's children congregated around her in that general hospital.
As I wondered, how is it possible? When I asked, "How you doing, Ma?" she looked me straight in my face, grabbed my hand, and would say, "Dion, I feel terrible. But you know what? I'm okay." See, I've attended 3 different engineering schools and 2 community colleges, yet I stood there feeling like a fool.
With all this knowledge, I thought to myself, "Ma, you've seen 3 different doctors in 2 different hospitals, and what you're telling me doesn't sound logical." Then the doctor came in and asked, "How are you feeling, Miss May?" She squeezed my hand again while looking at the doctor and said, "Terrible, but I'm okay."
And as her smile conventionally camouflaged her pain, I began to gain spiritual understanding later on that day of what was meant when she said, as I read between the lines, that I kissed on her forehead. Her last words that I'll forever remember her say is, "Dion, you know what? I'm okay."
And it was in that instance that my brain began to time warp back to the days of Grandma Cora in that greenhouse beside Uncle Johnny across the street from where me and my mommy used to stay. And then I go back again and flash forward to when we stayed across the street from Aunt Dora.
And as I buckle my seatbelt on this trip before Mike and Possum teach me how to do a backflip, after Aunt Letta makes me the best bowl of cheese grits, before Webster defines Iana Reckley over Yanda, and Fin Ta, before my Aunt Jenny Gal was named after Aunt Dindal, though both real names are Virginia.
Before Meatball was the first barber to paint a vivid picture of any description, if for some reason you forgot or could not remember, and we can even go back before that 31st day
of December, back before I can even remember them saying, you had that child, so you gonna take care of it.
And even though it could have been a lot worse than a single mom with food stamps in Amherst, 2 jobs while going to night classes to be a nurse, creating the definition of a grand woman's worth. It also helps with defining the definition of definitely putting your family first.